Hello guys, welcome. Today I want to show you how to create this amazing FREEPIK premium flyer for free. If you go to freepik.com and flyers, you're going to see this flyer under the premium subscription or premium label. So therefore you can be able to create stuff like this and put them up on FREEPIK and be able to make some money. So let's dive into Photoshop and see how to create this flyer. So you go into Photoshop and we are going to create a new document. Here is a screenshot of the flyer I have taken so that we can use it as reference to be able to recreate it for free. So I'm just going to create a new document. You already know how to create document. If you have been following the channel, we have already covered all those in previous lessons. So you are going to input 1080 by 1080 because we are creating this flyer for the purpose of publishing them on Instagram or publishing them as template for people to use on FREEPIK. So I'm going to put a resolution of 72 instead of 96 because I just want to optimize it for Instagram and not stress the compression engine. So from there you create your color mode is RGB. All these have been covered in previous lessons. If you want to still learn about the interface, you see the lesson about introducing the Photoshop interface, you linked up in the description. So I'm just going to click on create. Here is your blank canvas for you to start creating. So let's dive into our reference document and check what can we find. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see clearly. So we have a hero image section. First of all, we have an image and we have an overlay on the image, and the image is in a shape. You can see there is a trapezium, a half cut trapezium shape. So that's the first thing we are going to create. So there are two ways you can do this. I can first of all start by using my pen tool to trace this shape on my reference image. That would be too easy. So I just want to assume that this is your first time want to create a flyer. So I'm just going to go on the blank canvas and use the pen tool to trace directly on the canvas and create that shape. So I'll start here. I click a point. This is how the shape looks. There is a sharp edge here, and then it goes further to create another point here, and then I'm just going to close that up, and bam, you have your shape. So if I miss some points on this shape, I can always come with the curvature pen tool and readjust the position. You see it has turned to a curve because I'm using the curvature pen tool. So to make it back to become a straight line, I just double click and it becomes a straight line. I can drag and drop this point to adjust it all along the track in order to match my reference creative image. So that is our shape already set. I'm still going to use the pen tool a little bit to adjust it so that it should the curvature pen tool to adjust it a bit so that it should really match the reference image. So we have something like that. It shifts more towards the left, so I'm going to shift it more towards the left, and I'm going to shift it higher up a bit. I'm going to shift it higher up a bit so that it shouldn't be too I can see from the reference. Yeah, so I think this one is a bit higher and this one is a bit lower. I'm just going to use that. I'm not supposed to be perfect, but I'm just going to show you here. And now what's next? You can see that there's an image. So I'm going to drag in the image from my image gallery right down into Photoshop. So I'm just going to go to download and I'm going to look for an image that can match. Okay, this pool looks fine, so I'm just going to drag it in into Photoshop, and you can see the image has been brought into Photoshop and this is on top of the shape. So the image here, you can see the shape and you can see the image. So I'm just going to place that on top of it, and I'm going to press on the Alt key to create a clipping mask. So I have already inserted that image into the shape. So those two shapes are already. If I want to modify the shape, I still have the freedom to use my curvature pen tool to be able to hold some edges. I'm just going to take a reference up here so that the points can appear, and I can always adjust along the image to make it look the way I want. So you can see it's still adjustable. So the image came in as a clipping mask. I know we have covered a lot of lessons on the channel concerning clipping marks and raster images. You can always reference that. But if it is your first time, we are using a smart object so that we shouldn't be able to distort the quality of our image. From there, what is next? You can realize that there is a little line here that follows the part of the trapezium and then cuts across the other way. So I'm just going to click here and I'm going to use the pen tool to create that. So I'm just going to create a line here, and it's going to cross it over here, and then I'm going to cross it to over here. Oh, unfortunately I took the curvature pen tool, but it is not still a problem rather than a pen tool. So I'm just going to unfill that, and then I'm going to stroke it maybe with a stroke of 15, or let me say 10, so that it shouldn't be too thick. I'm just going to stroke it with 10, and because it is curvature pen tool, I'm going to double click so that it should become straight points instead of. So if this is disturbing you, you can always press on escape to change that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to double click here to make it to become straight. So here it's become straight, and I'm going to position it within the image, just like it is the case with the reference image. So I'm noticing some changes because when I was creating the shape, I didn't pay attention to this angle here. So I'm just going to go back again and realize that you see my own image is in the form of a V, whereas here there is a straight line before the image form. So how can I do? I'm just going to click on the shape, and I'm going to go with the curvature pen tool and add an anchor point on my shape, and then I'm going to drag it out like this, and I double click, and now I'm respecting exactly what was in the original document. So you can see that. And then I'm going to bring this again a little bit lower so that it should cover a bit more space and reveal a bit more of the image. So I have that. So coming back to my new shape tool, I'm going to use the curvature pen tool again somewhere here to activate the shapes, and then it's supposed to be placed along here from the reference image, and this other guy is supposed to be somewhere along here according to our reference document. That is how it looks like on the reference document. So this guy is supposed to be somewhere there, and this guy is supposed to be somewhere here, just to pay a little bit more attention to the reference. So you can see we have that very close points, and okay, this other point is outside, so it's ending somewhere around here. So this point is outside. So you see we have been able to create that upper section. Something is still lacking, but we are going to come to that at the end when we have finished creating our shapes. Okay, as I said, instead of going through this method, you can be able to just trace on the original image which you are referencing and be able to recreate that. So I'm just going to show you an example here by retracing on this shape. You can see I'm going to retrace that. I place an anchor point here, I place another anchor point here, and then I place another one. I'm sorry, I'm using more of the curvature pen tool instead of the pen tool, but as I said, it's not still a problem. I'm going to switch to the pen tool in the next shape we are going to draw. So I'm having that. So what you do is just simply double click on the anchors of each point on the to make them straight lines, and then you have that. So when you double click that, you have that. I'm going to drag this shape into the next canvas we are having open. So I'm going to position that in and just leave it there for now. So you can realize that there is some sort of one side of a rectangle, of a triangle here, that is some sort of a square, of a half triangle shape which we can recreate. So I'm going to switch to the pen tool as I earlier promised to create this shape. So I'm going to place one anchor point on top, one anchor point down here, and another anchor point here, and then I'm going to close it up down there, and then I'm going to drag this into curvature pen tool and be able to readjust these points so that they should match exactly the perspective of our canvas. So I'm adjusting that. As you can see, everything is straight up right now. So we have had those two shapes. What do? We were going to change the color by clicking on this icon, on this four corner icon here. You are going to have the option to customize color, and I'm going to pick a color from the image so that it should match the perspective. So I take OK. This shape is below instead of being on top, so I'm going to take it and bring it on top. Now I can see that my edges here are not perfect, so I'm still going to go back to the curvature pen tool and try to adjust those edges by pushing it a little bit out of the canvas so that it should flush. So you can see that even down here I'm going to push it a bit out of the canvas so that it should flush on the canvas. Okay, so that is that. I've brought out the shape on top, and the shape on top is having the similar color to the original line on top of it here. So I'm going to double click here, and you have that just exactly as it is on the reference image. Let me take this shape that we have traced over off so that we can be able to follow our reference image easily. So that is how it looks like on the reference in the curvature pen tool. And I'm going to click somewhere to reactivate the canvas so I can see. Then I'm going to push this to match the perspective of the original image since we are creating FREEPIK Premium. And then I'm going to come to the line and equally use the curvature pen tool there in order to be able to reactivate the points. I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to pick it also and bring it out a bit like this so that it should also match the perspective. So that is how it is, that is how it looks. So we have just respected exactly what is in the previous, in our reference image. So you can see some shapes here, some dotted shapes here. I decided to do them so fast so that you should not waste your time. So I'm just going to drag them. It is simply by clicking on the shape tool because they are easy. Normally we always do these shape patterns in Illustrator, or you can download existing one in resources and use. So I'm just going to, you can just simply trace on them like this to recreate them. You see, you can just be able to trace like that, press on Alt, duplicate, and you're going to have it. So since I've already taken off that pin to trace them up for you, you can see this is one here. I'm just going to drag it into our canvas and then position it, Control T, so you can see it. I'm going to take it up a little bit. So I'm going to take it up a little bit, and then I'm going to position it on our canvas a bit here so you can see. And I'm going to change the color to white. I'm going to change the color overlay to white so you can see it clearly, because we have changed the colors of the images. And then on the second aspect, what do we see here? We see some text. So to put in that text is very easy. We have already been taught the text tool in our previous lessons. So what I simply do, I go into the shape tool, I choose the rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle here to cover the space I want to cover with my images. And then I'm going to unfill that, and I'm going to use the text tool, and I'm going to type in there, and it's going to fill that space with some text. And the color of the text is white. The font size is 24. You can customize it and put it to your own size. I'm putting in 20. I'm using the Montserrat font, and I'm having medium. So that's it. That's the text in there, exactly the way you can see it here. The only difference here is that this text is justified, so you can see that they have justified that text. So you can select the text and also go into your character panel and choose the option to justify. So I'm going to look for that here under paragraph, and I'm going to take justify, so you can see that the text now is justified. That is why you see that there's a little bit of spacing and everything in here. But if you are in a real document, I doubt if you are going to use justify, so I'm just going to leave it justify for the sake that we are trying to recreate an existing premium template. So that is that. You already have all your shapes in place, you have everything. What do we need? Simply just to put an overlay on the initial image. So I'm just going to quickly put in the overlay on the initial image. I can use that by creating a shape. So in order to make it easy, I'm just simply going to duplicate the shape that I already have here by pressing Control. You can take on duplicate, you can take on duplicate layer. So as I take duplicate layer, it's going to do, I can give it a name duplicate. I can give it a name duplicate of main shape. So I'm going to call it that so that we can easily refer to duplicate of main shape. It has duplicated it, and of course due to that it has taken off our clipping mask. So I'm going to put back that in there, and I'm going to press Alt and put back the clipping mask, and then I'm also going to put this in a clipping mask. So the shape I duplicated has also been put in a clipping mask, and what we simply have to do now is to play on the opacity. So if I bring down this opacity, you can see that we have that duplicate in there. So I'm just going to play on the opacity a bit, and since the color of it is supposed to be some sort of orange, I'm going to click on it and change the color of the fill. Because it is filled with black, I'm going to fill it with a bit of orange. I think black looks much better than orange or blue. So what do they have in our reference image? Let's check our reference image. Oh, the one where I completely off color. So I'm going to think that here we can choose any color. So I'm thinking that let's go black. Let's go black. Black is a little bit dull. Let's go green, and then let's try to drop the opacity a little bit further. So we are going to drop the opacity a little bit further, and you can have that. So you see, we have been able to produce exactly the same things that are on our reference image. Some stuffs are lacking, so you can see that there is this square shapes up here as well. So I simply have to hold that here and press the Alt key and drag it up, and then I'm going to press Control Transform, that's Control T, and I'm going to hold the Shift key so that I rotate on straight lines, that I rotate every 45 degrees. So I hold the Shift key and I can rotate 45 degrees in, and that shape lies there perfectly just the way it is in the reference image. So I'm going to position that somewhere here, as you can see. So from there, what's next is remaining is to put in the social media icons. So definitely you go out there and you our colors should stand out more, our text should be more visible. So let's work on increasing contrast a bit more. So I'm going to go like 65. Yes, 65. 55 is good enough. So 55 is good enough. Okay guys, you can see this is the FREEPIK premium template which we have successfully recreated. So you can be able to create stuff like this and be able to put them up on platforms for others to use and establish yourself as a strong designer. You can be able to create templates like this and sell them on other platforms where design templates are being sold. So you realize it's pretty much straightforward. If you know how to use your tools, you can be able to recreate these designs without any stress. So instead of paying a FREEPIK license just to get this, you can be able to inspire yourself from it, not necessarily create the same thing. I just showed you this to show you that it is possible. Inspire yourself from it and be able to create unique, authentic pieces. That's it for this lesson guys, and see you in the next one. Remember to subscribe and stay up to date with new uploads on the channel, because we have a lot coming up for you in the next few days. Thanks, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.